What's up, y'all? It's your girl Queen Steez and I am back with another story time. So y'all, I'm gonna take it back to undergrad and I'm gonna tell y'all about this crazy ass professor that I had in undergrad. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you also give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you leave me a comment. And did I already say drop a like? I mean, if you haven't already dropped a like, just go ahead and do it. Also, make sure you go check out some of my other story times because y'all know we are lit over here at QueensteezTV. So y'all just stay tuned for the rest of this story. Alright, y'all, so let's just get straight into the story. So as I said, this took place in undergrad. So this went down, y'all, my freshman year. Way to make an impression on me at this school. So y'all, this was my English teacher. He was so crazy. I'm gonna call him Mr. Nwankwo. Okay, Mr. Nwankwo was a big, tall, skinny African guy with a big bald head. He looked like Squidward. That's what I used to call him. But I always make up names for people. His name was Squidward because he looked like what is it, ugly Squidward, the strong face one. That's what he looked like. He was not giving. So yo, that was Mr. Nwankwo, right? He was my English teacher. I think this was English 102 because this was the last of my prerequisite my freshman year. And you know, I was just trying to get in, get out, do what I had to do, right? So the first day of class. So I walk into the classroom. Now, our classroom was not your typical English class. I don't know why, but our English class was in the computer lab, which was kind of weird, but whatever, right? So I knew a couple people around campus because I had went to this, it was like a summer bridge program for people coming out of high school, going into college. So I knew like a lot of the freshmen because most of them went to this little program. They kind of made it mandatory. So I had some familiar faces in class, which was cool, right? So, you know, you see people that you know. So, okay, let me put y'all how the rows was. So, it was a row of computers here that were facing the wall. It was two rows that was like in the middle and we were facing each other. And then it was another row behind us that was the same way. The computers was facing each other, like how I'm facing y'all, right? So, I went in the first day of class. I sat in like the middle aisle closest to the people that was facing the wall. And I took a seat on like the first aisle. So I took a seat that was kind of like in between some other students because my ideal seat is by the wall. I don't know why. I just like sitting by the wall. I feel safer. I can see the room. But that seat was already taken because, you know, I got in there a little late. So I took the seat that was available. So we did the first day of class. Of course, you know, everyone's doing introductions, which I hate doing introductions because it's just like, this really don't matter. Like, I'm coming here to do my work. Like, I really don't care how, I don't care what your names is. It don't matter, right? So anyway, everybody going down the road doing the introductions. So I'm just like, you know, hi, my name is Aja. My major is, I think my major when I first got to college was pre-med. So I'm like, yeah, my major's pre-med and yeah, blah 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 blah, right? So everybody do that introduction. So as he's talking, he's standing like right behind me. Like every time he would say something, he would come directly where my chair was. So I'm like, okay, why is he standing over me? But then I'm like, okay, it's not a lot of room in here, even though it's other places for him to stand. But I'm like, okay. So he would walk away, but he would always come right back to where my chair was. He would go to this room. He would come to where my chair was. He was like staring at me just like very strangely. So I'm like, what is wrong with him? So I didn't say anything, right? So class was over. Fine. So the next week comes around. The same thing happens. So we sitting there, we doing our work, he giving us the assignment, blah 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 blah. He's standing literally right behind me. Like, we were this close. Like, if I turned around, I would have been, like, my face would have been in his belly. Like, he was just, like, that close. So he kept, like, doing all of this, touching me. And I, you know, kindly told him, I was like, don't touch me. And I made sure, and y'all make sure that when you tell somebody not to do something to you, be firm so they know that you're not playing. So like I told him, don't touch me. So I guess that was the first, like, thing to where he was like, yeah, don't put your hands on me. Don't touch me. Like, you already making me uncomfortable. You keep standing behind me and, like, now you touching me. Don't do that. Stop. Halt. Stop. No. So that class is over. So I'm like, okay. So one of the people that was sitting in the corner on the opposite side, after the class, I was like, hey, I was like, do you mind if next week I sit over in the corner and can you take my seat for me? So he was like, cool. He was like, it don't matter to me. Cool, right? So next week, when I go to class, instead of me going to the seat where I'm in, which has my back open where he can come behind me, the other side by the wall, where the guy was sitting, had, like, you know how, like, the pillars are? But it was a pillar behind that chair, so it would be impossible for him to come behind me, right? So I go in, I go around the desk, I go sit by the wall. The other boy right there, he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm sitting down for class. That's what I'm doing. He's like, why are you not in your seat? I said, this is college. It's not assigned seats. I'm sitting over here today. What's the problem? So he tell the boy, he's like, go back to your seat and you come sit right here. So I'm like, you're really making a big deal about where I'm sitting at. So I'm like, okay, now I know it's not me. Like, now I know it's you. So I said, okay, cool, right? I go sit back in the seat because I'm like, this man doing too much. I'm just trying to do my work. And, like, I already had time for this. So now, y'all, he's making it, like, his business to mess with me. So we had our, like, textbooks or whatever. So he's like, yeah, I need somebody to read. So, you know, people raising their hand. Oh, let me read. Let me read. Let me read. I'm just sitting there because I'm just like, at this point, I'm kind of agitated because I'm just like, you know, why are you messing with me, right? So he has about 10 volunteers. So he goes to stand diagonal to where I am, and he's starting at me. He was like, start reading. So I'm looking, I'm like, oh, who are you talking to? Because I was like, oh, my hand's not up. He was like, I did not ask you if your hands was up. Start reading. So I was like, okay. So I start reading, right? So, okay, I do one paragraph. And, you know, kind of when you get to the next paragraph, you know, usually the next person pick up. So I look up at him like, you know, what's the next person? He's like, I did not tell you to stop. Keep reading. So I keep reading and I'm like, okay, so now I'm at the bottom of the first page. So I'm going up to the second page. So after I got to the first paragraph on the second page, I stopped. So he was like, keep reading. So I was like, nah. I was like, nah, now I'm done reading. I was like, no. He was like, you are going to read the whole chapter. No, I'm not about to read the whole chapter. yeah, no. So he's like wanting to argue back and forth. He's like, you gonna keep reading or blah, 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 blah. I was like, yeah, no, I'm not about to keep reading. I was like, number one, I didn't even have my hand up. So yeah, you better pick one of these other 10 people to read because it's not gonna be me. So meanwhile, we going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's time, the class is over. So I'm like, okay, boop, 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 bye. So I get my stuff and I go. Y'all, the next week I came into class, this man tried me. So I go in to go sit at my seat where I'm always at. He's like, no, we have assigned seats. Everybody stop. So I'm like, we got assigned seats. Yo. He assigned everybody who's already in their regular seat, their seat. So I'm like the last one standing up. So I'm like, where my seat at? Take a guess where my seat was. Right next to his desk. Like the kindergarten. Like, you know where you put, you know where pre-K and kindergarten teachers put their child that need to be next to them? I said, oh no. I was like, what is this about? I said, I'm not sitting right here because you make me feel uncomfortable. I said, so I'm not sitting in the seat right next to you. That's not gonna happen. I said, we not children. This is college. It is no assigned seats in college. So I was like, I don't know what you want me to do, but I'm not about to sit next to you. So he was sitting there wanting to go back and forth. I was like, you know what? I said, I'm not about to go back and forth with you. I just got my stuff and I left, right? So y'all, we still had this lounge. So I just went to the lounge or whatever, right? So of course everybody like, why you not in class? I'm like, yo, do anybody got Mr. Nwankwo? They like, no, blah, 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 blah. So I'm telling him, I'm like, yo, he always standing over top of me. He always hovering over me. Like, he always picking on me. Like, I'm like, I never said nothing to this man. I go to his class, you know, just to do my work. I said, he's just always nitpicking. I'm like, and today was like absolutely the last straw for me. I'm like, he sat a desk right next to him and talk about that's my assigned seat. So the people in there, they like, what? I'm like, yeah, like, he's crazy. So they was like, well, what you gonna do? I was like, I don't know. I was like, but you know what? I'm gonna just deal with it next week. So I knew some like people, some kind of higher ups or whatever, because my mom was an alumni at the school. So, you know, I didn't really want to tell my mother what was going on because I didn't, you know, I didn't want her to really get involved. It, like, he wasn't that deep. He really was not nothing I couldn't handle on my own. So I was just like, all right, let me just go to one of my friends, you know, to kind of get a little bit of advice on what to do. So they was just like, you know, he got your grade, you know, just don't pay him no mind, just try to go in there and do your work. I'm like, yeah, he making it kind of hard for me to focus on doing my work, but cool. So y'all, the next time I went to his class, I ain't fuss, I ain't do nothing. I just went and sat in the little assigned seat that he had right next to his desk. Of course, he was right there like a little lap puppy. So I sat there, I did my work. So he gave us this assignment where basically you had to like, it was kind of like tell a story, but I guess he wanted it to be more about you. Like, I don't know, he was weird. So it didn't particularly have to be about you, but it had to be like about your life or things that you had been through. So I just took it as, you know, I don't have to talk about me personally, but I can talk about, you know, things that I've experienced, things that I've been through. Most people in the class took it as something personal and they was just telling all their business. But me, he was already being weird. So I was like, yeah, I'm not about to give you no ammunition. And I'm damn sure not about to tell you nothing about myself because you already weird. So y'all, he had us read our papers out loud, right? So everybody read their paper. So during this time, I had lost one of my friends from high school, and you know, I was kind of just like writing about that experience, how it was like, it was really tragic, what happened. So, you know, that really affected me. So I kind of wrote about that. So y'all, it gets to me, right? So I'm reading my paper, and I wish I could find, if I find the paper, maybe y'all come on here and read it, right? But, so I'm reading the paper, and I get to the end, and everybody in the class have like tears in their eyes. They like, oh my goodness, this is the like best paper I've ever heard. And they like, oh my goodness, you know, it was like very emotional. While Mr. Nwankwo was like, this paper is not about you. I was like, no, it's not directly about me. I was like, but you know, according to the syllabus, It didn't specifically say it had to be particularly about me, but according to your symptoms, it says something about our experiences. So I followed, you know, the course outline that you provided to us. So that's what I did, right? So he was like, well, I can tell you now you have a F on the paper. So I'm like, yo, this man is playing with me, right? So I say, okay. I'm like, Adrian, don't say nothing. So I'm just sitting there like, I'm heated. Like, I'm done with him. I'm heated. One thing I don't play about my grades. Like, don't play with me. So, thankfully, I ended up getting sick. So I ended up being out of his class for 2 weeks. Best 2 weeks of my life. And actually, when I was sick, for real, I went to all my other classes. But since I had a doctor's note, I like took it as the 2 weeks to skip out on his class. Because I did not want to deal with him for 2 weeks. So y'all had strep throat. So, of course, I sound like this. I really couldn't talk well. Of course, you know, I had a hoarse, raspy voice or whatever. So even when I did return after the 2 weeks, I came in his class. I gave him the note before he could even ask where I've been. So he was like, you have been gone from my class for several weeks and you think you can walk in here? So I'm like, I just provided you with my doctor's note and I went to go sit down, right? So here he go back on his bull crap. So he's like, turn to chapter 8. So he comes to me, he's like, read. You hear that I'm hoarse. You hear that I don't have no voice, but you sitting here telling me to read. So I told him, I said, Mr. Nwakwo, I don't have a voice. I'm not going to be able to read for you today. He was like, read. Mr. Nwakwo, maybe you didn't hear me. I'm hoarse. I'm not going to be able to read for you today. Pick someone else in the classroom. He went off. He's like, get out of my class. You are disrespectful. Blah, 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 blah. I told him, I was like, I don't need time for you. I was like, bye. I got my stuff. I left. So as I was leaving out the door, he was like, you are not allowed to come back to my class. The dean himself will have to bring you back to my class for you to come back. I was like, okay. So y'all, I went over to the cafeteria. I think it was Fried Chicken Wednesday. I went down there, Fried Chicken Wednesday. I got me some chicken. I went to chill. After I got finished eating, hung on the court for a little bit. I got in my car. I went home. I was not worried about Professor Nwakwo. Wasn't worried about him at all. So, yo, he tells me I can't come back to his class unless the dean of the university himself bring me back. Now, that may have been a hard task for some, but I am the Queen Steez, honey. So, guess what? I had work study on campus, and guess who was my boss? Yes, you guessed it. The dean. I worked in the dean's office, so I knew the dean. He didn't know I worked in the dean's office because, you know, that would have been an impossible task for any normal student, just bust in the dean's office and be like, hey, dean, can you take me back to class because I can't go back to class, you know, unless you physically bring me there. You know, he thought that he was getting ready to get a one-up on me, so that's why when I left out, he was so mad that I just was like, okay. I was like, I don't care. Okay, I'll see the dean tomorrow. So I waited for like another week or so. And I went to the dean. I was like, Dean Jones. He was like, what do you want? I was like, can you do me a favor? He was like, what? I was like, can you walk me back to class? He was like, what's going on? Walk you back to class? He was like, what you mean walk you to class? So I told him, I said, listen. Mr. Nwankwo has been giving me a really hard time. I said, ever since the very first day that I went to his class, he's been hovering over me. You know, he got upset when he touched me. I asked this man not to touch me. I said, you know, he's just been like, just nitpicking. I was like, you know, and you know, I already had my wits in last week when I was gone for 2 weeks because I was sick. The dean knew I was sick. I said, I gave him my note. I said, you sitting there yelling at me, screaming at me, talking about, I'm disrespecting him because I'm not reading. Okay, well, I'm hoarse. I don't have no voice. How you expect me to read? And I know you only doing it because you're trying to be smart. I was like, so, I said, he put me out and he told me that I can't come back unless the dean himself walked me in. So, the dean was like, he was like, what time do the class start? I'm like, it's 12. He was like, all right, I'm going to walk you back to class. So your time come, I'm marching back to class. So we go in there. So I went to the door. And I was just like, hi, like, I'm back, bitches. So yo, when he seen me, he was like, get out. Do not come in here. I was like, but I brought someone to see you. So I went like, y'all, the dean walked in. Y'all know the class was gagging because they like, how did she get the dean to really bring her back to class? Yo, I'm the Queen Steez, okay? So he still told me to get out, even though I had the dean, because I know he was so pissed, but I know he was so mad because he probably was trying to calculate how the hell did I get the dean to walk me back over here, right? So he told me to get out. He was like, he need to have a meeting with me, him, and the dean, right? So I'm like, okay, me and the dean posted up in the hallway because I'm like, yep, let's have a meeting because I already told the dean what's been going down, so let's have a meeting. Yo, my voice was back then, and yes, let freedom ring. I was going to get him together. Now I have my voice back, so yeah, let's talk about it. So he come out in the hallway. He's sitting there. He's like, this girl is disrespectful. She cussed me out. Stop. Let me stop you right there. I said, hold on. Let me stop you right there. The dean was like, telling me like, chill. I said, I said, what you not going to do is lie on me. Yo, when I said that, I was standing right here. He took a step further to get in my face. So I took a step further to let him know, well, what's up? If you want to be toe-to-toe, if we going to go nose to nose, that's what it is. I said, but like I said, don't lie on me. So he was going on and on. He said, you see what I mean? She is disrespectful. She is disrespectful. He said, I can get any of these witnesses in the class to tell you she cussed me out. I said, you don't got to get nobody. I said, I'm standing right here and you standing right here. I said, and if you did get somebody at the class, I said, you a lie. I said, because I didn't even have a voice to cuss you out. You told me to get out your class. I said, and I simply told you, okay. I said, because guess what? You didn't know, but I worked in the dean's office. That, what you was talking about didn't matter to me because I already knew I could come back with the dean. I said, so, since you want to lie, I said, don't say nothing to me because I don't talk to liars. That's one thing that would set me off. Do not lie on me. So the dean is like, yo, his eyes got big and he was like, get over here. So the dean pulled me in another room. He was like, have you lost your mind? I said, no, I ain't lose nothing. I said, I think he lost his mind, but I ain't lose nothing. He said, do you realize that he have your grade and that he can fail you? I said, okay. I said, well, guess what? I said, if he fails me, I said, over a lie, he's going to have many more problems on his hand than just bringing the dean here. I said, because I have all my grades. Yo, he was pissed off. So the dean was like, look, He said, I'm not about to have this no more. I said, since you sitting out here lying, I said, tell the dean how you be standing over top of me. Tell the dean how you pick on me. Tell the dean how you went and got a desk from somewhere else and set my desk next to you. Tell the dean how when I asked you to take your hands off of me, you stepped in my face. I said, so if you step in my face again, you're going to have a problem. I said, but not only that, you may think because you older than me. I said, but other than that, I have a father, and don't make me call my father up here, because then you really going to have a problem. Well, after that, the dean was like, he was like, okay. He said, well, that's the end of that. He said, okay, you go back in class. So them two stood out in the hallway. They talked for a little bit more, but at that point, I was like, so everybody in the class, when I go back in there, they like, yo, they like, you told him. I'm like, no. I'm like, he gonna sit here lie talking about our custom. I'm like, don't lie on me. Do not lie on me. So, yo, after this goes down, he came back in there. He was fuming. Like, he was fuming. But what I did comes from that is he ain't say nothing to me. Like, he ain't say nothing to me at all. I don't think he was expecting me to go off on him like I did. But I think that's a common thing, like, with people. I don't know what people be thinking, that I'm like some little docile lamb. Like, nah, I'm gonna give it to you. Like, I don't know if it's because I like pretty much mind my business. Like, when I go to places, I'm kind of like to myself. Like, I don't really be into all of that. But believe me, baby, if you come for me, you will get hit with the boom. Okay? Now, what he did do is he played with my grade. Everything I turned into him, this motherfucker will put a C on it. C, C minus, C, C minus. So I'm like, so I went to another English teacher that taught the same exact class that he did. I said, you mind doing me a favor? She like, yeah. I was like, can you read over this paper? I was like, this the syllabus. I said, this the assignment that I turned in. So she would like, read through or whatever. I was like, and just based on, what would you grade this? She's like, an A. So I was like, okay. I said, that's what I thought. That this was A work. So she's like, why he keep putting C's on your stuff? So I told her what happened. I was like, he's pissed because I challenged him. But I said this was a rightful challenge. I said, because, all in all, he was harassing me. You was fucking harassing me. So she was like, oh, wow. She was like, did you report it? I was like, listen. I said, the dean already been involved in all this. I was like, I had to get her to run down. Like, no, the dean been involved or whatever. So I go to the dean. I'm like, listen. I was like, I'm already about to let you know because I'm going to challenge this grade. I said, because I can already see that he trying to get me a messed up grade. So he like, what's wrong? I said, everything I've turned in since this little whatever engagement, argument, whatever the fuck, he put a C, C minus on. It's like he don't even look at my stuff. He just straight put a C on it. I said, now my problem is I took it to another English teacher and also the English tutors. I said, and everybody's saying that this is A work. They would have gave it an A. I said, so my issue is he keep giving me a C. He's not grading me fairly over something that he's taking personal, which I don't know you, one, personally, for you to even grade me that way. And number two, like, sir, get out my face, okay? So, after this, of course, we had finals and all this stuff. Do y'all know what this man told me? He said, with that attitude of yours, if you were back in my country, you would sure regret it. I said, is that a threat? Because please tell me it's a threat. Because then I'm going to have to call campus security up here. I said, but I said, I'm going back to the dean and I'm going to let the dean know what you said. Since you like getting the dean involved in things. Well, y'all, at this point, I had to get my mama being involved. Oh, it was a ding dong rap for Mr. Nwankwo. That was his very first and last semester teaching at the university. Sir, don't play with me. Like, what? And for any of my college students. I mean, listen, in life, you're going to come across difficult people. You're going to have difficult professors. I will tell you this. Pick your battles, especially when it comes to that. However, if someone is harassing you, you know, doing things to try to sabotage, you know, your grades, your future, things like that, handle that. Everybody, I understand, is not as vocal as I am about things, but it's always a chain of command wherever you are, whether you at school, whether you at work. If somebody is harassing you, doing things to you, picking with you, bullying you, doing whatever, there is a chain of command. I will tell you this, if you are going to address them firmly. Let them know straight up, I'm not playing with you. Do not address me like that. Don't put your hands on me. Don't talk to me like that. And if they can't, back away. If they don't want to, you know, comply to that, go to the next person. If the next person don't do nothing, go to the next person. Because guess what? Everybody boss got a boss. And that's straight up. And just like Mr. Nwankwo thought he was doing something, thanks for coming. Thanks for journeying. Bye. So y'all know I always leave y'all with, you know, a little saying or the moral of the story. The moral of this story is get up, stand up for your rights. And this is your girl, Queen Steez, and I am signing off. If you like this story, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Also, if you ever had a crazy ass professor or somebody that was like picking on you or just harassing you in school or something like that, make sure you drop down in the comments, because I would definitely like to know. If y'all think I should have did anything different, let me know. But I mean, it's done and over with. Mr. Nwankwo is somewhere, blown in the dust. We could care less. And if I ever run into him again, it's still on sight.